heard all that. Welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 259. I'm your host, Greg Gab. The gang's all here. We got Mike and Tony and Don and Dewan and John and Pete and John and Garth and John and Wayne and John and all the other non-Johns. Let us talk of slot cars. I have a quick little teaser show and tell, but if you have a show and tell you want to show and or tell about, raise your virtual hand so that I don't not call on you. But I'm going to do mine real quick, and it's going to be a quick guess what that is, which should only take a moment for most of you. I'm listening.
It's a 3D printer.
It's a 3D printer.
I'm not going to help any more than that.
Polycar track.
Printing. Thank you, Don. Polycar track. Yeah, getting closer.
Oh, a pit lane?
No, I wish. Haven't gotten that file yet.
It's an adapter of some sort.
Nope.
It's a curve.
It's a curve.
Is it a lane changer?
Why would I print a polycar curve?
This radius 6 or radius 8?
Radius 6. There you go, Mike. Whoop. It's a radius 6 polycar curve, and unfortunately it won't be done before the live chat is done. But for those who hang around for hours and hours afterwards, I should be able to show anybody. I think it'll be done. Let's see. You can see when it'll be done here. Estimated in 2:50 my time, so that's almost 2 hours past the end of the live. But
Plenty of time, then.
half these guys, yeah, plenty of guys. Half these guys will be here past that. So anybody who's here past that, I can give a preview. Otherwise, I'll do a show and tell on the actual track piece next week. It's unlikely that I'll get the rail kit that is required to make that an actual functional piece of track. But I did an interesting little trickery of the slicing software to see if I can mimic the driving surface of polycar track. So hopefully that turns out well, and I'll be able to do a little comparison. But yeah, eventually I'll have the rail kit, and I'll turn it into a functional piece of track that I can actually connect up and drive across. So I'll show and tell that when the time comes.
So that was a live feed of your printer, was it?
It is actually a live feed of the printer printing, yep.
So the question that's not been asked is, why?
Why? Why not? I do 2-lane tracks, so it's not like I'm gonna do a 4 or 5 or 6 or 12-lane track using printed pieces, but it'll give me more versatility in what kind of track I can design with a 2-lane track.
So it's not a piece that you just needed to close up something that didn't close.
No, I am printing it for the main reason of testing the file that Maurizio sent to me, and once that's been confirmed as functional printable, he'll share it online. I'm sure he's already shared some files. I forget specifically what he shared, but might have been that already. I don't know. But yeah,
What is the?
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, what was the size? What's the size of your print bed to be able to support that size track piece?
I can print up to 36 centimeters in both directions, or in all 3 directions, which is about 14 inches, somewhere about 14 inches. If you do the conversion.
Okay, now you're just bragging.
It's a big printer. It's called the Prusa XL. It's a big. I bought it specifically because it's big, and it does fancy things.
So Greg, that's not the file that the one guy posted on Slot Forum where he used wire cable for the conductivity?
No, this is official from Slotted.
Official Polycar. What do they use for their braid, so to speak?
They make a rail kit, or I forget what they call it, but it's basically a spring, an extension spring that you trim to size and then plug in the pins that plug onto the end of the track. That's That's the thing that they sell. It's a product for this year. You can actually go to the catalog.slot.it website and see that product. He's checking to see who might have it available to ship to me in the States. I don't know who has it. I don't think Alan has it yet, but Electric Dreams is their distributor. So if anybody in the States has it, it'll be Electric Dreams, and then whatever local retailer decides to stock it. But yeah, it'll basically be a kit with 4 springs, 4 pins, actually 4 pins, 4 sockets, and then you trim the spring to length and slide it in. I would expect that it'll be higher wear on your braids than stock track, but not as abrasive as the steel cable that the guy on Slot Forum used that you're referencing. But I've not had it in my hands. Anybody who's been around in slot cars long enough might remember the old AFX Flex Track. That's basically what this is spring rails like the AFX Flex Track is. But I think the spring that they use, I remember the Flex Track. If you had a sharp curve, then the outer spring got really spread apart, right, and the inner spring, right, because they couldn't make it so that the inner spring needed to be compressed, so the outer spring was always stretched. But since this will be fixed, it won't be adjustable in its diameter or radius, whatever.
Yeah.
You cut the spring to length, and so you can make sure it's a nice close spring. So lower wear.
I suppose if you wanted, you could always run copper tape over it too, just to smooth it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Unless that might raise things up a little too much, but who knows?
I mean, I'm sure they designed it so that the top of the curve of the spring is basically the same height as their rails currently are. So, adding up 1 mil copper tape is going to add nothing, really, functionally.
Right. So cool. It's a round profile spring and not a square wound. The coil spring is
I'm sure those exist, but yeah, for practical reasons, I would think that a square profile spring would be much harder to retain in the track. Whereas a round profile can have little arches right near the top of the curve of the spring to hold it into the track, while still allowing a little bit of the spring to be proud of the track.
Yeah.
That's basically how the design. I mean, I could show you the little arches that are every 2 or 3 centimeters in the track rail slots for the rail to go in, but it's simple enough concept. And I'm pretty sure that's what the dude that used the cable did too. He basically, round cable, so he put little arches, partial arches along the length of the thing.
So was it a case of the file was released and that motivated you to have a go?
Well, I've had. We'll tell secrets. I've had an R6 file for several weeks now, but there was an anomaly in the CAD that would have made it not unprintable, but not optimally printable. So I had to wait. I decided not to print that version and told Maurizio what the problem was. So he then fixed it. So now I have the fixed version. So now I'm going ahead and doing it. Besides, I still don't have the rail kit to put into it. So he also sent other files like R6 11¼ degrees and different border files to print out to clip in there. I'm sure I'll test all those eventually, but once it's more or less confirmed that the way they're designing it is doable for a consumer printer, I'm sure they'll just go ahead and release things directly out, not waiting for me to do any testing. But I'm for sure looking forward to testing the lane changer, the pit lane thing.
The pit lane thing, the single lane access.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they would do the flipper. I mean, the flipper on their double lane changer, parts of it could definitely be printed. So maybe, but they'll have to provide a way to actuate it.
And
Currently,
that's
they
it. They're going to have to sell a module, aren't they, with a electronics and a solenoid or whatever. And
a
why not?
solenoid at the very least, a
Mm.
solenoid that fits into their print. I mean, they already sell the electronics separately as originally sold. So all you need after that is the actual solenoid. So they would have to provide that as a part that you can buy.
Now, is that their business models to just to sell the different add-on components to complete the track, or because I don't understand.
For obscure things like that, right? So they are adding a 1/8 straight piece. Like currently, it only goes down to 1/4 straight as the smallest length of straight piece, I think. And they're going to make one that's even shorter than that. So they're going to injection mold that little straight piece as well as the borders that go into that little straight piece. 2 of which are needed for the pit lane piece to go. And basically you'll use an inside border for like an R3 or R2 or whatever, and then 2 of the short little straight borders, and then an outside border for an R3 or whatever to do borders around the curvy part of the pit lane. But the pit lane itself, the actual track for the pit lane access will be printed, not manufactured. And that's mainly because it costs a whole lot of money to do those things, right? So they want to actually get a return on that kind of investment.
So low volume and not So got it.
If you had those files for those things, it'd be cool to print those in colors, like alternating color,
Sure.
red and white or blue and yellow or whatever, little stripy things.
Blue and yellow for sure. Yeah. All right. Any other questions on that? Moving along. What you got, Mike? Oh, you're all the way across the room. What you got, Don? You're muted.
Well, a couple of things. I made a purchase. I'll get some light on the subject here.
Nice.
Car that I've been wanting for a while, so I finally bit the bullet and got it.
Very nice.
And then a few weeks back, y'all remember me talking about this car having a blown motor in it. And not being happy since it was a brand new car, but it was a brand new car that I had let set for 2 years before I had attempted to play with it, to only discover that it was a bad motor in the car, but no biggie. So I thought I'd try out some of these. And I think some of you have played with these already. The car comes with a 13.5K motor in it. And this one is a 21.5K. And yes, it goes faster. Lots faster.
Yeah.
Just means that you can't pull the throttle all the way down now.
Does it have a large gear ratio on there?
It's the same gear ratio that was on it. Didn't change anything.
Well, was that large because it had a small RPM motor? Was it quite a tall ratio, like a big pinion or a small spur? Did you do a count? No?
I haven't counted it, but whatever the standard is, it
Yeah.
comes on there.
Yeah, I'm sure
Kit cars. So
I'm sure it's your typical slotted inline. What?
Yeah.
930.
28, 928.
Yeah.
probably. But very smooth running motor, and you know, for $8 a pop, I do recommend them. So I could have got the replacement motor for the poly car, but they wanted $18 for that. So why get one of those?
Yep.
But anyway, that's all I got.
So that's
No bad thing for the hobby at all that there are inexpensive, just as good motors. Because I always thought a scale electric motor at the price they asked for that was over the odds, really.
yeah. That's I think I saw LEB as the label on that, right?
Yes. I think Jim talked about them a couple of weeks ago. Didn't you get some of those, Jim?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying much attention, quite frankly.
The LEB
The
Cyclone motors.
Cyclone motor?
Uh, no, it was a different motor, I think.
Good to know that Cyclones are good then.
Yep.
Alrighty, moving on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I said LEB has been good to deal with as far as I'm concerned. Easy. It's on the East Coast, et cetera, et cetera.
I've not heard anything bad about LEB.
Actually, I've got a shout out to them. I don't know if you remember, I talked about having a bad B2 chip, and I hadn't gotten a response from them on it. Well, I made an order, so I emailed them again to ask about it. And I said, well, should I send it in? And they said, no, don't bother sending it in. I'll just credit you.
Nice.
So they just credited me sight unseen of the chip and everything for the $44 of the chip. So shout out to them for being really good on customer service.
Yeah. Yeah, they could absolutely request for that chip to come back so that they can send it to Slotted or whatever they want to do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, good deal. All right, keep going, Mike. What you got?
Oh, I talked about earlier when we weren't live about a silly car. Well, this is the silly car.
Oh.
Yikes, looks French. It is a
It
Renault.
is almost brand new. It
Is
was
it
purportedly
Seneca?
used. It's a SCX. You can see. And it's got an absurdly strong magnet on the back. I haven't run it yet. So I don't know. I have to figure out. I have to change my power base around so I can get analog again. I screwed up and went it back to put it back to basic accidentally, and so at any rate, the reason for this car is because my first drivable car that I ever had was a Renault Dauphine, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen the Renault Dauphine, but they look like an egg. At least mine did, because it was kind of a cream colored thing. And at any rate, we used to, and it, by the way, it has fostered my absolute hatred of French cars ever since. But, you still have kind of a soft spot. But at any rate, at that time, Renault still had dealers in the US. And I used to walk by and see the new R8s. And I thought, oh, those are cool. That'd be fun to have one. That was before my educational phase of the Renault Dauphine. But at any rate, I saw this used at Cincy slots. Every once in a while, I have stuff there, and I didn't realize that they made it. Nobody that I know of makes a Renault Dauphine. You have to get it.
Wait. Sorry. I must interrupt you, sir. Wait 1 moment. Let me share screen. Let me share screen.
All right, John, how much?
It's going to be the wrong year.
Oh, you've got them?
No, I don't. But I did, because I don't really like them, so I didn't buy these. But did you want one?
You bet.
Okay, well, the next model car show, I'll keep my eye out for you.
Okay. Great.
Assuming those are 132.
Yes, sir. Airfix 1/32 scale.
Wow.
They rallied those cars pretty extensively.
Yeah,
Ask and you shall receive.
I actually saw a video of a Renault Dauphine that's had punched out fenders and real, a rally car that was quite cool looking. But at any rate, it was my first foray into foreign cars, and is deemed by my parents to be an option better than the Norton that I really wanted.
Now, Mike, how badly did it leak? Like, did it leak a lot of oil and stuff?
Oh, it leaked everywhere, and it burned oil from the second I got it.
Yeah,
Even
that's
after
because
the
French
engine rebuilt,
French cars are all just trying to make sauce. That's why.
Yeah, really.
So was what you held up a Renault 10?
No, it was an R8.
A Renault 8?
Yeah, R8.
Renault 8.
Have
So-
a Simca.
I thought it was a Simca.
No, it's an R8.
It's an 1100. It's a Simca.
Yeah, it's a Renault. You can tell by the twin headlights in the front.
I've got one there, look. That might be the one. What's the rally on the front? Monte Carlo?
Monte Carlo rally. I guess they did quite well as a rally car, from what I understand. But just to give you perspective, that's the Datsun 510. You can see.
Yeah, but how accurate are both cars?
Good question.
Yours is number
I can tell
89.
you that the magnet availability is 308 grams.
Well, I was gonna say the nicest thing about SCX cars is how easy it is to adjust the magnet or just remove it with those screws. And depending on if the person who previously owned it ever adjusted the magnet, if you can't screw it in deep, like don't force it, but if it doesn't screw in deep, then unscrew it completely, remove it, turn it 180 degrees because it has these little steps on each side, right?
Yeah.
And when you put it back in reverse, then you can screw it and it'll actually go in deep so that you can greatly reduce the magnetic traction without completely eliminating it.
Yeah.
Best feature of any magnet slot car is the SCX magnet system.
Similar to the Polycar cheapo cars. Interestingly, you can see the chassis of it. I don't know if you can see the front portion of it. The wiring for it, it's little sprung pieces of copper that are pushed down. The motor pushes down against the copper sections of it, and then it's got a.
Is that your first SCX car?
No.
Okay.
No, but this is similar to the older Scale Extrix.
Yeah.
The problem is, of course, it's got a really crappy guide on it. It also has lights. You can see they use the whole setup there rather than using wires, which is interesting.
Definitely make sure those are nice and stretched out so they touch, and inox those contacts.
Well, not to worry, they will be gone. They will be wired. Plug-in wired, and I'm probably going to build a chassis for it because without a magnet, it's going to be absurd. It's at least as high as the Datsun 510, the slotted one, and about 2/3 of the width. So it's going to be an impossible slot car. So if I put a brass chassis under it, it'll probably be maybe reasonable. But we'll see.
Mike, when you see naked brickwork, do you like to approach it and start banging your head on it?
If you race the cars for what they are and don't try to turn them into some kind of magic racer car, then they're fine. You're fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. On that note, this is my next show and tell.
MC12.
It's an MC12, and it is, as a Scale Extra car, it is a roaring BOS. I mean, terrible.
It looked really good.
What I did is you can see here, I've got a slotted pod. I drilled into I cut out the piece, put a slotted pod in. The two metal rods that you see are epoxied into the basic chassis. And then across the back, you have the metal point for the mounting for the rear mount of the body. And the slotted pod actually moves around. And this went from a 11-second slot car to an 8-second slot car by doing this.
Very good.
So sometimes I can make silk purses out of sow's ears,
Very good.
just so you know. But that was appropriate segue there, Wayne.
I mean, if you're willing to do that kind of work, then yeah, you should damn well better be able to make a better car.
Well, you know, it's something to it's a challenge to me, and I respond real well to challenges. So to the point of being stupid sometimes. And I've had my share of oh shit, that's really not worth it. But yeah, let's do it anyway.
I didn't get any pictures, but I have a pile of chassis to send you. I just finished up last night printing Garth chassis for you.
Oh, good. Thank you. We are clear on that I wanted the F40 with the wings and the Maserati without them. Correct?
Yes.
Good.
We should have gone ahead and done a Zoom chat. It would have sped that process up. But yes, you're getting. I decided to give you some extras in addition to what you requested. You're getting an F40 chassis with the wings in PLA as well as one in PETG, because I believe you don't have one with wings in PLA. Right?
No.
And you're getting a Maserati chassis in PLA and then a bunch of PETG Maserati chassis so that you can.
Cool.
Because the changes that have been made to that.
Great.
Yeah, I'll ship those out tomorrow.
So anyway, I haven't had a show and tell for a while, so now you got one.
All done then?
Yep, I'm done.
All right, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. This used to be my fastest GT3 car, and you can tell it's got the F1 wheels on it, so this was quite a while ago. And I ran this thing so hard, beat the crap out of the body since this. It's faded, the paint's gone, the nose is in a few pieces. But I really like the car, so I found a new one. These are kind of hard to find right now, so a guy locally put something up on one of our groups, and so I found a brand new Ford GT from Racer Sideways. So this will probably go on that original chassis, which was fine, but the body was beat, you know what. So that's a new car for me this weekend, or this week.
Come on, you don't have pictures of the beat up car? That's like end of 24-hour racing.
I can't remember if I threw it away or not. I couldn't find it.
Aw.
It's around somewhere. I'll just wait for another year and then take a picture of this one. So he had a bunch of parts. So he had the rubber wings. So I've got both rubber wings now. So this will turn back into a race car, or maybe it could be a shelf queen, because I don't have very many of those, and I really like this car, and it is kind of hard to find this livery now.
Yeah.
We have this next weekend coming up, the MR Slot Car Challenge, and it is a spec race for the Jaguar only. MR Slot Car Jaguar XK220, right? XK220 or XJ220?
XJ, I think.
So this was my white kit, and it looks like crap with the green tires on it, but the green tires are a spec tire. We have to run those. That's why they're there. And we are allowed to run Lexan interior, so I mocked it up with the interior with Mario inside. And along with my 3D printing expertise now, this is not quite the finished product, but pretty close. The interior is not in it for this shot. So that's the car I'm going to be running in the MR Slot Car Challenge. And right now, at that track, it's the fastest GT car I have. NSR, sideways, everything included. So it's running very, very well. The spec motor for this class, you know, I think the new cars come with a 22.5 flat six. The original cars came with a 20.5, like all the Racer Sideways in the slot. but we are using a spec 22.5 flat six in this, spec wheels, spec tires, spec gears. So drivetrain is fixed. There's no playing around with the drivetrain, and the spec green tires, which again I don't think they look very good, but I like the fact that they're easy to tech, so we can tell people are running the spec tires or not. And with Alexa interiors, Mario's ready to go. So we're going to see how fast he can go this next weekend or the weekend after.
So which part of that car is the bit that makes it special then?
I don't know. If you're familiar with MR slot cars, you know they rock differently than other cars because it's pivoted on the center, which allows the left. If you're going into a right-hand corner, a left-hand corner, it allows the left side of the chassis to come up and the right side to go down. And a 4-point pod, 4-pivot pod does not allow that. One can go up, but the other can't go down. And so in theory, it's better. And as I started to mess with those screws and allow more rock, the car got better. Yeah. So that may be part of it. It's a pretty strong motor too. Those motors are quick and they're lighter than a long can. So the car just works really well. I was quite honestly, I had no idea that this car could go this fast. So it's a big surprise to me.
Are those
so
staff
are some of the
wheels?
theories behind it.
No, those are you did 3D printed inserts for the wheels, right?
Yeah, because we're running the spec wheel in the back, which it's a slotted, excuse me, it's an MR slot car air wheel. I think it's about 16 in diameter, and the fronts are quite a bit bigger in diameter. So the only way to get inserts to match is make your own.
Did you do any other 3D printing or just the inserts?
Well, speaking of that, I wanted to build a break-in bench. This is not a dyno. This is not anything like that. It's just strictly a break-in bench for gears and drivetrain. And so this was my first prototype. I printed it thin because I just wanted to see if the dimensions worked and everything, and it seemed to work good. So I printed one in full size, and that's what I came up with. It is designed to work without the tires on the car because, again, it's just for motor break-in and gear break-in or gear running in. And on the inside, that's basically it. I was thinking and getting really adventurous and put a double pole switch in it so I could have 9-volt power or outside power at my option, but I haven't done that yet. This is as far as I've got, other than putting it together. The foam pad on the back allows the car to sit slightly above it, so if the gears are sitting slightly below the chassis, nothing hits. And I've got an on-off switch. I thought about not doing an on-off switch. Just put the 9-volt in it, wire it up, and put the car on it, and it runs. Take car if it doesn't. But the reason I put it in is, one, is convenience, and two, I can tell a lot when I flip the power off as the car ramps down how good the gear mesh is. You can hear it, and so that's the reason I put the switch in it.
Tim, are you making them for sale, or are you just?
No, these are just for me. I think
for London.
I think in the back I'm going to make it this piece thinner so it's not quite as wide this way. And so this was the first full working prototype. And so I may make a few changes. And when I build the actual one, I'll probably not do it in white. I'll probably do it in another color. I put the pegs in here so the car could not move laterally if I decide to leave it there and leave the room. So far with the foam pad, it hasn't moved at all. But I think if you want to leave the room, it might be a good idea to put the pegs in. So I've printed pegs. I don't have them here, but so just slides in from the top. Doesn't allow the car to move laterally if it does decide to do that.
Hold on, Jim. You just said no to at least 2 sales.
Well, I'm not doing this to sell. I may do it for people here. I don't plan on doing any commercial things. But you never say never. So we'll see.
Sorry, hey, hold on. But if you need an agent, let me know, okay?
Okay, yeah. My agent currently gets 0%, so you're on the list.
You could always do like I do and share the files online for other people to print.
I may do that too. When I get to the final, this is, like I said, this is a working prototype, but it's not quite the way I totally want it. So
a couple questions for you and a suggestion.
Sure.
So you want to make that back part narrower, for the car to rest on, and that'll help with sidewinder and angle winder gears. But doesn't an inline gear rub a little bit on that foam pad when you don't
No,
have?
because the cars that I have, the gear sits up above the bottom of the chassis. So
Okay.
the other idea was to put pegs back here
Yeah.
in like a chassis jig, so you can move the pegs around depending on the chassis. So that's why this works for me.
Yeah.
It may not work for everybody in every car.
On a
I
foam
mean,
rubber pad like that,
even
nothing's
if
going to move.
So, well, like I said,
even
I
if
was
you,
thinking about putting it on a power supply. If the car moved around, it would probably jump off and lose power. So, but again, this I'm building this for me, and it does what I want. If I decided to build them for other people, I might make some changes, like some of you just suggested. So,
well, even for you, if all you did was cut that foam pad into two pads with an opening down the center, then it would if you for whatever reason in the future put a larger gear for an inline, that would solve that problem.
the other way to do it, which I thought about later, is cut the pad here, and the pad would just be this area. So all it does is rest on the back of the chassis. And that would obviously be chassis dependent, but I think I could find a good place to cut that, and it would work on 90% of the chassis.
Well, that's the nice thing about doing a slot down the middle is any inline car, the gear is pretty much going to be right down the center.
Yeah. Well, if I put a slot down the center, it would play havoc with where the battery is, and I could move the battery.
No, just in the
yeah.
foam. Just in the foam.
Oh, in the foam. Okay, yeah, I could do that. That's a good idea. Yeah, instead of doing that big pad, do strip on this side and strip on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to the picture with the battery. So my suggestion was going to be rechargeable 9 volts.
There's a hole back here. You can't see it in this print or this picture, but there is a window back here, and it will allow you to put your USB-C charging input into the battery.
So you've already done that.
So that was thought of, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
there is a window back here. I didn't have any. I'm not going to buy any just yet. But there is a window back here to allow you to put the USB-C charger for a rechargeable.
Yeah, I did that on a recent contraption, and it's, I've never in the past I was like, man, no big deal, but after actually getting rechargeable 9 volts, I'm like, oh my god, but friggin' why not? Never.
Well, that would allow me to, again, for me, is to not worry about this, because one of these cracked a little bit.
Yeah.
So I could just eliminate these and just use shoe glue and mount the battery if it's a lithium rechargeable.
Yep.
And you can still get it out if you needed to. So that's one of my first projects. I said I was never going to do chassis or bodies, but I did the gray is a HO chassis that I pulled off of, I think, Thingiverse. It's an AFX 1.7 inch HO chassis, and so I built a body clip for it.
Yeah.
And so what the heck? Why don't you take the body clip and make the body clip into a go-kart? So I'm still working on this one. And this is a long way from even being close. The side pods I got from somebody we know here.
Oh, is that from the Ninja Kart files?
Yeah, as was this. I modified this a little bit. So I put the side panels on the body clip.
Yep.
Pulled a 3D driver off, pulled the steering wheel off, and I just made my own shaft, and the shaft is actually what holds the front pod on. And I built this for a 1.5 millimeter chassis, inch chassis, so the axle would actually be here. So I'm going to redo it because I like the longer chassis better. But anyway, that's a long way from going. I just wanted to see if I could do it and how close I could get. So it fits very nicely, actually.
Yeah.
So thanks, Greg. I just needed another hobby.
I mean, the nice thing is that the printer you bought has been pretty much plug and play for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're learning some things about the nuances of 3D printing and, success and failure through the slicing software, but you didn't have to do a bunch of, tuning and tweaking of the machine itself to get going.
Yeah, learning infill, learning supports and all that other stuff. That's a learning curve, but it's pretty easy to learn. And I just go on YouTube and search something and I can find ideas of what I need and then try to take those ideas and apply them to what I'm doing.
Yeah. So at this point in time, generally speaking, people who want to have a 3D printer as a tool can get a 3D printer as a tool, as opposed to 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, the printer is the hobby, and in a while you can use it as a tool. But nowadays you can buy a 3D printer and it's a tool.
So somewhat like PCs were in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
If you wanted a PC, you kind of had to build it and tweak it and whatever, and now it's mainstream.
Yeah.
The software has a lot to do with that, doesn't it, Greg? I mean, yeah,
Sure.
the printers are getting to be pretty bulletproof, but the software is making it really easy for.
Yeah, both of those things hand in hand have been improving quite a lot over the years. I mean, even since we started the chat, honestly, in the last few years of doing the chat is leaps and bounds. So yeah, nowadays you can buy a $200-300 printer. The software for doing the slicing is free. It's the user interface is more intuitive than it has ever been, and the default profiles that make all the decisions for you have been improved greatly. So 9 times out of 10, you can drop a model into the slicer, hit slice, and send it, and you're fine.
Yeah, I think, like you said, a lot of it's learning the software, especially the CAD, doing the CAD.
Yeah, that's a whole other side to it, but yeah.
Yeah, just as in a real quick example.
I think the CAD is still and always was the hardest part of the whole process.
This slot here, because I've got my base, right? That's easy to do. You create a block and I put a round corner on it. So there's a recess for the braid, which is about 20 thousandths. There's a hole for the slot itself, and there's 2 holes here to pull the braid through to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 different rectangles.
Yep.
And the first time I did it, I put 4 rectangles on this file. And then it dawned on me, if I create a separate file, build those 4 rectangles separately and create a single file for that cutout and then apply it to the model, it was much easier.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what
So
Tinkercad.
that's the learning type curve.
Yeah. And it depends what CAD program you're using. Tinkercad is one way of doing things, and then there's Fusion and SolidWorks and others, more professional grade CAD things that do things their way. But all of it, as Garth would say, there's basically just 2 or 3 things you need to learn to just stack and remove and stack and remove, and then you've got your thing. It just depends on if you're happy with the things that are already provided out there for free download and printing, or a moderate price in printing, then you don't need to worry about any of that. If you go online and you're like looking for the perfect thing that meets your needs perfectly, and you just can't find it no matter what, hop on Tinkercad and start dragging and dropping blocks and stuff, and or Fusion or whatever, and when you take things step by step, it's really not that complicated. There are some tricks to learn as far as making a thing printable without requiring tons and tons of support. And those kinds of things you can learn from the videos that you were talking about, or as you go. All right, good stuff from Jim. What you got, Mr. Weber?
I was going to make a comment about that subject. I think another thing would be learning which materials work for you, with availability, how quickly can you get them, who's a good source, what's a good source, that kind of stuff is another thing that you have to think about.
Yep.
I
mean, when it comes down to it, generally speaking, The easiest kind of filament to print, this is all about filament printing. The easiest kind of filament to print is PLA. It's readily available online from a variety of retailers, direct retailers, or of course, the big gorilla Amazon. You can get pretty much anything through Amazon for super cheap. And then there is, from PLA, things get better and or more complicated to print. Like PETG is more flexible, but it has its own issues. ABS has its own issues, but it has its advantages, and so on and so forth. But generally speaking, when somebody buys a new printer, if it doesn't come with a whole spool of material, it'll come with a little packet of material for you to do some test prints on. Pretty sure it's always going to be PLA. Some of the printers, if their marketing is geared towards engineering materials, then they might include a sample of polycarbonate, carbon fiber filled, or something like that. More advanced materials. But for the most part, you're talking about PLA. 15 to 20 bucks for a 1 kilogram spool, which will print just an S ton of chassis, multiple run-in boxes like Jim was showing. You can get a lot out of 1 kilogram spool of material. And PETG is about the same price. ABS is about the same price. You don't start getting expensive until you start talking about carbon fiber filled or higher grade engineering materials with different fillings or different parameters and stuff. But yeah, you get a printer, you get a bunch of PLA, and you go to town printing a bunch of stuff, and then you start looking into getting crazy with it.
Yeah, I did find a place that has samples of PLA or of all their filaments. And
Yeah.
they're about the size of the package that comes with the printer. It's not very big, but it's plenty to do 200 or 300 wheel inserts. And so I bought about 5 or 6 colors just to see what they would do, and very inexpensive.
Yeah. And the nice thing about most materials is, as long as you keep them stored in an airtight container of some sort, it'll last for pretty much ever. So if you're like, well, I want to use this, but I don't know if I'll ever need it again, just buy the 1 kilogram spool and stick it on a shelf when you're done with it, because eventually you'll be like, oh yeah, I've got that. I'll go ahead and print some stuff with that. Or do like I'm doing, you get some material that you thought you'd like, but you don't like for whatever reason, and then you just like, you know what, I want to get rid of this material so that I don't have to decide not to use it for other things in the future. I'm just going to pump out a whole bunch of things that other people might actually enjoy, and then I'll just hand them out. Here, have this thing for free, because it's still a good thing, but I just don't want to ever use this material again. For future reference, that is PLA-F, I think it was called. It was a really cheap PLA, but I didn't notice the little F after that, which gave us some properties that I don't really appreciate. So my bad for just buying the cheapest PLA I could find without paying attention to the details of what the material actually was. Anywho, all done, John?
Mike opened up this can of worms with these tiddlers.
Next on my list.
Excuse me?
Next on my list to find.
Yeah, it's a Revell NSU. I think it's from the model is from 2004. But these are apparently very popular in Germany and other parts east. And when I was a kid, maybe 18 or so, hadn't been driving long. My father worked in the service department of the Chevrolet dealership, and somebody had brought in an NSU TT 1100, and it didn't have the raised deck lid, but it was broken. and they had asked him to try to figure out how to fix it. And I think it sat on their back in their back lot for a long time before they were able to get parts. And I almost instantly fell in love with it when I saw it. But this is they make a lot of different liveries of this. I don't know how often they change them, but it's a nice little car. And there's let me give you a look at this. There's one of those inline gear visible, crown gear visible chassis. And it actually does protrude just a little bit below the chassis material.
Mm-hmm.
And
how does it run?
Those are
I don't know.
Those are a hoot to drive. One of the guys in our analog club has an IROC set of 4 of those. He might even have 6 or 8 for when we run on bigger tracks. But those come out once a year, and they're just a hoot and holler. I mean, no magnets. Usually it's on a wood track, and he's oiled the tires so they get a little bit better traction. But they're pretty much what you'd expect, a tiny little inline car that's tall and narrow.
This one has a humongous magnet just in front of the rear axle. You can see I just stuck a AA battery on there. Around.
And it's so small. It's like the Scalextric Mini or Fiat, where the motor's actually at a slight angle. It sticks up a little bit towards the front so that it.
Well, here's a 512S from Spirit next to it, so you get an idea how big it is.
They're teeny.
It's also very tiny, but probably, it seems to have a longer relative wheelbase than a Mini does.
Oh, for sure.
You'll see. It's should be interesting, I think. That's all I have.
All right. Like I said, those are a hoot. So I have at least one of those. Just because, when we ran them as IROC, I'm like, oh, that's a hoot. I'll get one of those. So I got one.
You found a blue and yellow one?
No, it's a green color. If there was a blue and yellow one, I'd for sure trade up to that. But, take the magnet out and run it around. It's fun. All right. Thank you, John. Garth, are you ready?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I got a little bit of an update on my chassis that I've been working on. Let's see if we go probably with this one. You see that? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. This is I think I showed this last week, and I've been goofing around with the rear of this. And I was going to add these little wings kind of stabilize the body. This is for a Ferrari F40 slot.it or Polycar F40. And I got a whole bunch of these cars, and they have, they're kind of a problem with the 2-post thing, the way the body rocks, or sometimes the bodies are uneven, or the application of the windows or the inside of the interior will torque the body a certain way, and it's tough to get them so they look like a car, so I was experimenting, trying this, and then today I decided to go one step further, and that's my new version. Okay. And this is there are a bunch of updates on this thing. I changed the beam a little bit here. I got a couple of other little gussets or little ribs that are on the inside of this. And then this idea is to make a 2-posted car into a 3-posted car. Okay. And the idea here is that I'm going to make this is, let's see if I can flip this around here. And look at the back. So that's the position for the original post, or in the body, and then this little outrigger thing has 2 other positions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make something that parallels this, that is going to glue onto the post in the body. Okay, so in other words, it's going to add 2 posts up into the body by using the existing single post, okay? And that way I can have a 3-posted F40, okay? You see what this looks like from the bottom. Okay, you see it's got the regular body screws will go in there. I mean, this won't, when these are used, that won't be used, obviously, so it's just a new idea. And then this is the latest version of it. I thought it was a little bit too big, so I made it a little smaller as far as the outside outriggers. Okay. So that's my latest.
Out of curiosity, and because I honestly have no idea what would be better or worse, was there any particular reason for choosing to do the 2 at the back versus the 2 at the front?
Well, yes, because the front on a F40, the front post is behind the axle, okay, kind of in the middle of the chassis, sort of. And so putting 2 over there would be a little different, and it was easier for me to, if you look at the back of the F40 chassis, the way I'm putting these chassis underneath the body, I have space back there to be able to put 2 posts in there. So, but the idea is that I can take those 2 back posts and put foam washers on it and be able to adjust that body. So if the body is cattywampus in one direction, okay, I can make it even. So it sits on the chassis and on the track,
I get the idea of doing a tripod.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen a tripod body mount with 2 in the back and 1 on the front.
Yeah, the other 2, the ones I've got, the Polycar P330 Ferrari's got posts 2 in the front, 1 in the back, and the 512M has got 2 in the front and 1 in the back, and those things are really, really sweet. Okay, and I've got both.
The Maserati that you did has 2 in the front and 1 in the back.
Yeah, and so that's
longer,
kind of
so plenty of room.
Yeah, so it's 3 is 3, I guess it would be. And I have no idea how it's going to work. I'm going to try to get a couple of them printed and see if it. I mean, I actually cut at one of my at one point about a year ago. I got so frustrated with one of the body. I had an F40 body that no matter what I did to the damn thing, it was always, not straight, and it just drove me crazy because it looked bad, like one of the wheel arches on one of the sides of the car of the 4 side, the 4 wheels would always be like out of position, and it just made me crazy. So finally I got so sick of screwing with it, I just took it over to the bandsaw and just sawed it into pieces. Just so I would quit goofing with it. Okay. So that's how bad I wanted to try to fix the thing,
Well, too bad you didn't already have your whole chassis thing going on before you chopped that car up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, anybody else want to do show and tell? I'll assume that's a no. Let's move on to Club Corner. If anybody has any past, present, or future racing they want to talk about, now is the time to do that. I'll do a quick little because the what happened on Monday was unfortunate in a variety of ways. I don't blame the track owner at all. It was just computers being computers. The first problem that reared its ugly head was the Siage SR2 controller that I use, and Russ has one which he loaned to one of the guys who had it to test or whatever. One of the other guys decided to use that last Monday night as well, and either there was something in the air or it was the way the power is controlled on his track, but for whatever reason, just randomly the controller would freeze, like just straight up froze like a computer, because it is a little mini computer in there. And for one time, it basically for when it froze my controller, it just didn't go when the race started. So they kindly restarted the race after I made sure the controller was not frozen. For the other guy, one time it froze right at the end of the minute, so he didn't lose a whole lot, and the car basically just stopped before the power stopped. And then the next time it froze was right before the beginning of the next minute, and it froze in full speed. So the car just rocketed off into the nearest wall. So I tried to figure out how to avoid that. It was like, leave the controller turned off, wait until you're going to race, and then turn it on, and then plug it in. And I still don't know why that was happening. And then, for computer reasons, the computer decided that it didn't want to listen to the DS racing timing box anymore. And so we had to manually change the lap count every heat. And for the program that we use, the only way to do that was to right click the laps of the person for each lane, one at a time. Right click, add lap, right click, add lap, right click, add lap, right click, add. Literally every single lap had 2 clicks to add to the race information for the 4 lanes that were. So we basically got into a habit of just as soon as the heat started, we would just start cranking away, adding laps, and then once the heat was over, we'd subtract or add as needed to make sure that the lap count was correct. And then make sure the points were correct, and then went to the next heat. Apparently, over, I don't know, a dozen heats, that was too much for the computer. Computer didn't like doing that anymore, and decided to just completely freeze. Just rock solid frozen computer. So we lost 20 some, almost all of our heats. We were getting towards the end of the night when, for at least 2/3 of the heat so far, after it decided to stop tracking laps, we were manually adding laps like that. And then it just decided to just freeze, crash. We couldn't even see the laps up till then. We couldn't see the results up till then. So we just lost the entire night of racing. So I won! Nobody can prove me wrong. Anywho, that's how that night went. But as I always say, we a bunch of guys who like each other, slot racing. It was still a fun night. Rocco agrees. Mike, are you ready? I gotta mute.
Yes. Let me do you can watch my finger now. Yeah, really. At least it's somewhat working. All right. So we raced, I only have 2 of the 80s, late 70s, early 80s Formula One cars, the 126C Polycar, and the other one is a Williams FW07, which is an SCX car that I butchered and put a Polycar pod into. And it actually won the race against the Polycar car. But they're so similar. I mean, essentially what I did is cut a slot for the pod assembly in there, in the chassis. And then there's little fingers in the rear of the chassis that pop up, and I used grub screws to screw into the back and hold the rear of the chassis in place. And these cars were very, very similar in lap times. I think they were within a thousandth of a second, if I remember correctly, like 8015 and 8016. It was just crazy. how similar they were, and that was with me testing them in the first place, and all on the inside lane. So, at any rate, we had a ding dong race, Shiggy and I. It was pretty much fun. I ended up taking them mostly by fuel usage, which is interesting because his style of driving tends to be hard on the brakes, hard on the gas, hard on the brakes, hard on the gas, and he uses more fuel that way consistently. And I tend to be more smooth coast through it. I'm not really any better a driver, and in many cases, Shiggy is faster than I am. But I'm smoother and more consistent in that regard. And plus, frequently when I start the races, I got 100 laps of practice with these cars. So, it's really, I've got much more experience with current situation as far as the track goes. Interestingly enough, the lap times, I don't have the lap times for these, but the lap times were faster in the race than they were when I tested them earlier. I don't know whether the track just got rubbered in or cleaner or whatever it was. It was quicker. So they dropped into the 7.9s, which is pretty good. Anything between 7 and 8 seconds on my track is a good lap time. I think that the current lap record is 6.995 or something like that. So it's pretty good. Anyway, the next race we did, I've got a couple of orphan cars that I run sometimes when there's only two of us. And these are slotted GT1s. I haven't got the interior put back in them yet. But at any rate, that's what we've got. It's a McLaren F1 Longtail and a Porsche 911 GT1 98. And there was another back and forth race for the two of us. And it really ended up, I think I got Shiggy pretty good on this one, if I remember correctly. There's a comparison of the size of the cars that I talked about earlier. You can see how narrow that one is. Okay, this is the results from that. I beat him by, I think, 3 laps on that one. And then that's what was there. And if you note the fuel, we both did pretty good on the fuel. And I was a little concerned. I had 3 laps on him, so I had plenty of time to make a pit stop if I had to. But I thought I could eke it out if I slowed down just a bit, and I turned out to be right. Finishing with 2.6 liters of fuel, just enough for the test for the stewards. So, anyway, that was what it was. I think that's all. Yep, that's all I got. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how driving style affects fuel usage and how that affects.
Well, and I really like the way the PC lap counter does it, because you can change small amounts of the number of clicks per liter. It measures your controller, so you're actually getting credit for going slower, not just your lap time is what determines the amount of fuel that you use, and I find that's a benefit. I'm going to try and concentrate a little bit on using PC lap counter with oxygen next couple times maybe, and see how that works as far as the fuel usage goes, and if there's any problems with using that system. Also, I don't know for sure. I'm going to ask on here. Maybe you would know. I've got it currently, as you can see from the pictures that I had up, the start-finish line, the magnets are straight across the end of the pit lane and the track itself. So the same point is the start-finish line. Well, I'm wondering if to alleviate somewhat the short lap problem, because they were working on that. I know they're working on software. Whether if I move the start-finish line further back towards the first corner, past the power base. So, my start finish line is just at the end of the pit lane, and I would move it about another 1.5 feet further so that you're in the braking zone, really, and slowing down for that corner. So it'd slow the speed down and allow it to come across there at a different rate. I wonder whether that would make a difference and whether there would be. But my question is, you have to have a pit exit magnet, correct?
If you have pit entry magnets, yes.
Yeah, I do have pit entry magnets. So you have to have a pit exit magnet.
But it can be the start finish line magnet too.
Yeah, I've got it the start finish line now, but I was going to move the actual start finish line further. So
don't do a pit exit magnet. In that case, don't add a pit exit magnet, because if you, that's what I had done. I had the 2 magnets for pit entry, and then I had a single pit exit magnet right before the final lane change back onto the track, and then I had the start finish magnets. And if I left the pit lane quick enough, I would pass over the pit lane exit and then the lap count, and it would register as
okay.
in.
All right, then I won't do it.
Yeah, either leave it the way you have, where pit exit and lap time for the other 2 are all in line, or move the one for lap count further out and take out the pit exit magnet. The upside is that you're not going to have that accidental pit in problem. The downside is that your car isn't going to get back to racing speed, assuming you're using a pit lane speed limit.
Yeah, and that's a problem, because I've got the full length of the long straight at the end there, and that'll be crashes if somebody doesn't.
Yeah, but
it is anyway.
Your track isn't big enough for the speeds that you're able to achieve to be too high.
That's true.
Because they're going way faster at those big events on the Suzuka and the Paul Ricard and those other tracks. They're so much bigger before they get to the so much longer of a straight before they get to the start finish line. In fact, I believe one of the fixes they're doing is making it so that you can go even faster over the magnet, and it be more reliable as you count laps. So
okay.
If Mike's using the start finish line as a pit exit, is he not missing a lap?
No.
No, you can,
because you get the lap at the same time as you exit the pit.
Do you?
Yeah, that's a software thing.
Yes.
The important thing is that you don't have it set up like I did accidentally, so that you're getting double pit.
I'm fully aware of that possibility too. But what happened to us in Suzuka was when we went into pit lane mode, we would cross the start finish line and come out of pit lane mode, but not score the lap.
Oh.
But again, this depends how you set up the software. Because if you basically say do not count on pit exit, then it's also fine to have pit lane exit magnet and then start finish line magnet after that.
Yes, but
and it will not double count.
Again, if it's a software switch, then it's as simple as that.
Yeah. You have to tell the software basically whether or not you want laps to be counted when exiting the pit lane or not.
Well, that's based on your configuration of your track. Some cases it's not required, some cases it damn well is. So simple.
So any track that's using a magnet for pit lane exit registration that then has a magnet later on for lap counting should have no lap upon exiting the pit. Whereas for me, because I removed the pit exit magnet to avoid the double pit entry, I have to make sure that counting a lap on pit exit is turned on.
Yeah. And that would have helped us.
Yeah.
So in Suzuka, basically, they disable completely the pit lane thing.
Yeah. That's the other
So
option.
our problem was that our chip was going pit lane, and then kind of missing the lap, let's say.
Yeah. But that was more of that's part of the bug, right?
That's a part of the issue with the chip. Yes, I mean, actually, I think it's the old sensor now.
Again, because I mean, fingers have been pointed at the Hall sensor and then back at the firmware and then back at the Hall sensor.
Well, I think that it's a bit of both, right? But the firmware now, what they're trying to do is they try to make it more robust against any kind of Hall sensors.
Anywho, yeah, Mike, go ahead and play around with that. Feel free to message me anytime. Go ahead, Gio. Sorry, Joe.
Okay, so this week I got a new firmware from Slotted to test, so I installed it on all the cars before a race. And as I was mentioned before, I think what I was able to identify is that messing around with the Hall sensors. So if you have the wrong Hall sensor, the wrong leaf, so basically you can have trouble with short laps or going into ghost pit lane mode. But this at least I was testing in isolation. Then over here, basically what I did, I had to make sure that all the cars were not doing any short laps with a low voltage. And so basically I knew that at least in that kind of settings, they were robust. And during the race and qualify, practice, whatever we didn't have any issues with the short laps and also we didn't miss any laps. So I think things are progressing in the right direction. So this was the lineup for the night. So it was a kind of a bit of a cold night, but the garage was starting to get kind of, but the track was starting to get warm. It's been like very humid, and there is a lot of rust on the rails. So there's nothing kind of special here. Then we line up for qualify, but actually I want to do a Bathurst, so we did the qualify in pre-darkness condition, let's say. And these are the results. As you can see, everybody, I mean, the top 3 drivers within the 5.7, and then James on the 6 seconds, and Colin with the 8 racing 6.03. Then we line up for race 1. So given that it's a Bathurst start, we start in darkness and then move on into daylight. Race was not too chaotic, I would say. There is, I think there's still a problem with and this I need to investigate a bit more with the 65 red line car, that when it goes out of the pit, it does not register the pit exit. And maybe this is with the firmware. I'm not 100% sure, but nobody else had any kind of issue. So I have to check his old sensor where it's placed. I'm pretty sure that I have a magnet on both sides. So, but Jan, the third one here, he lost a couple of laps because of that. So James was quite close, and also Colin not far from James. So just to repeat, Colin is kind of a returning driver. So I still kind of learning the track again. So then we move on into race 2. This with the one light in the garage on, and then these are the results. Now I think that the room temperature was up, and conductivity of the track also went up. So I mean, it's 126 laps, which is really good with the 5 drivers, and also the fastest lap kind of went below the 5.7, and actually, as you can see, yeah, everybody basically was below the 6 seconds mark as a fastest lap. So, and nobody repaired, which is good. So this is race 3. again here, not as many laps as before, but still quite quick. And again, I think Jan here third is paying a lot from those missing laps at the exit of the pit lane. And then my last race in full lights with this reverse grid, so I'm starting from the back, was almost a complete disaster. So I had to kind of repair. I don't know, in the middle of after the second pit stop, I lost like 3 or 4 damage points doing stupid things. I had to repair. So basically, Jan had the race, and Colin basically now, yeah, I think it's kind of getting the track. So came second. I don't know why Alex had the problem with another kind of issue with the pit lane. Basically the controller not working, not moving the pit menu. So I had to come out a couple of times and start it again. This is something that sometimes happens. I think it's more the controller is getting, the handle is getting too old. So, so the firmware seems kind of, progressing well. So these are all B2 chips. And so we didn't have any kind of missing laps like it was happening before, no short laps, but I was pretty sure that, the whole sensors were all not as sensitive as the one that kind of generate short laps. And what I really like about the fact that I can test now at 6.3 volts of 6.5 is that I can do some pre-testing in order to check if everything works. Because if I have a all sensor and chip basically that does not go in pit mode or short laps at that voltage, then I have a high assurance that at full power there's going to be no issues. And this basically has been kind of consistent. And why I'm saying that is the whole sensor is because I was testing with 2 Ferrari, the gold one and red one. So the gold one was the one that at 6.3 volts was giving short laps and ghost pit mode. Then the red one instead was very robust. Then I swapped the whole sensors and then the behavior inverted. So the red one now was giving ghost laps and short lap and ghost pit mode. So it's definitely something to do with the whole sensors. But the good news is that I have a new version of the firmware that worked, I think, after this race that kind of attenuate the issues. But I still trying to test it.
Right.
Good stuff. Any questions? Floor's open. What you got? Half an hour to chit chat.
UK Slot Festival this coming weekend.
Yes. Who's going? Not me. You're going with?
I plan to.
Covering. Tony can't go. Tony doesn't want to go because he'll end up buying everything.
Two of everything.
Dewan's body parts are still recovering.
Yeah, if anybody's got any special requests for me, something to look out for, the less easy to find stuff is generally out there. Not always in boxes, but it's normally there.
Oh, well, Mike wants a 1/32 scale Airfix Renault Dauphine kit, please.
Yeah. Now, you see, I don't normally remember seeing things like that, quite honestly, but
I was going to say, are there nearly as many model kits?
No, it tends to be slot car retailers and slot car heavy, shall we say.
Yeah.
On the modeling side, there are some things there. Obviously, there's scenery and scenery specialists, paint, clever things like scanning. I mean, if you remember, one of our erstwhile members have had themselves and their wife scanned and then have stood at the side of their own track. So there's little things like that. But you never know what you're going to find, quite honestly. So we'll go there. We'll see what we see.
There's some
Well,
cool new stuff coming out from MR Slot Car.
Enlighten me, Jim, briefly.
Somebody showed it the other day, but they're coming out with a 24th scale Indy car. They're showing these are all products that he was getting ready for the Slot Car Festival.
Yeah.
The C1 Corvette, which is not yet out, but then he showed the Ferrari. He also showed the Aston Martin, and he's also showed the Mercedes 300 SL.
That was quite a bit then.
So prototypes for all those cars should be at the Slot Car Festival.
Well, the C1 Corvette was there in prototype form last year.
Yeah, well, it's still not out yet, but he showed different liveries for it, as well as the Ferrari 250. And now he's showing prototypes of the Aston and the Mercedes, which we didn't even know about the Mercedes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll certainly be certain to make a look at that.
MP Slot Car did a special on that. Did a quick blast on updating with MR Slot Car was releasing. Yeah, he said he had the exclusive on it being out there.
Yeah.
124th open wheeler though. That's like it doesn't. Who's doing that? TTS. Somebody's doing a 124.
I don't know if you've seen the pictures of it. I can find them somewhere probably.
I'm not going specifically to make a lot of videos this year. I've done that. It was fun. There might be a few. I have another motive in mind for this year. I might do something different with my time there. Like to change it up.
Are you going 1 day or 2 days there?
It's traditional now for me to throw a tent and a sleeping bag in the back of the car and go wild camping. I've yet to find the perfect spot. I thought I'd found it last year. It was outside the grounds, just outside the gates, beautiful tendered piece of grass. But a security guard came and tapped the tent as he came to unlock in the morning and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm camping." Can't you see? Yeah, I'll be no trouble to anyone, and I'm on here until 8 to 8:30,
I
whatever.
imagine it's hard to get hotels there, isn't it?
No, I'm just cheap.
Well, if you've got an estate car, you could just park up in a lay-by and skip in the back of the estate car.
I know a trader that took his van down and slept in the back of his van. Yeah, adjacent. I joined him actually, but the spot that we chose was pretty rough for a tent at the time. So I've done this twice, and I've yet to find the perfect spot. I'm sure it's not very far away, but got the car, got the tent.
Isn't there a race event that's happening?
There usually is a polycar, or shall I say Formula One, classic Formula One, and that takes up the polycar circuit for the Saturday. The big polycar circuit, not the one that sits outside the stand. The big polycar circuit then gets to be available for anyone to play with anything during Sunday, and I might even take a car down to do that.
But you're not going to participate in the event.
I'm afraid polycar F1s don't cross my bench. There's no category for me at club level, and I don't do much club racing anyway. So I've only ever seen them a couple of times, and so going to see them at the slot festival is actually a bit of a treat because people push them, and I don't just mean in racing terms. I mean the things they do with the motor pod and the back axle assembly and sticking it inside of creations. I mean, Maurizio himself has done a 6-wheeler with 4 back wheels, which he raced. It was the Williams prototype. If anyone is ever aware, there was only ever one Formula One car with 4 back wheels, and it was a prototype that never raced. But he generated one of those out of his own bits and bobs.
There was an Indy car with 4 back wheels.
And that supports what I said. I think it was the only Formula One car.
Oh, Indy car.
Yeah, I heard you.
Oh yeah. But there was a four rear wheel Indy car.
Okay. Everything's been tried.
So here's the pictures of that. What I was talking about. Oh, it's not. Can you see that now?
In a moment.
Not yet. I got a black screen. I think there's something else going on.
That's not working.
Nope.
That's a rare thing.
Yeah, I saw the apple in the corner, so it was sharing something. It just didn't want to share what you were, or you were trying to share. You're messing with us, and you're sharing a black screen on purpose.
There
Oh,
he
there
is.
There we go.
I just grabbed this screenshot from the video.
Oh, from MP Slot Car, yeah.
You see, there's
Yeah,
a
so
lot.
that's
There's a
the
lot I
chassis
like
is
about
obviously
that.
very similar to the Corvette C1 or the C. It's the same design as the chassis from the C1, and most likely the same motor pod. But with an Indy car, there's going to be, according to the rumors, there's 4 real liveries going to be available initially.
But he's doing 132 and 124.
I think this is the Indy car's 124. I could be wrong. I thought it was 124th, which would make it. It's still going to be small because it's an Indy car.
Yeah, but that was clearly a 132 car chassis on the track, and then a 124th body and chassis on the plan.
No, that's the Indy. That's the Indy car chassis.
Can you show that picture again?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a perspective thing, you know.
Yeah, it's so much closer. The one on the right so much closer. That one appears to be much smaller.
Yeah, but it's not that much closer, is it?
Looks so much bigger.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, we know how far apart they are.
No, just look at the distance between the front wheels.
Yeah.
Like the one that's just a chassis is barely wider than the friggin' rails. The other one is almost touching both sets of rails.
That, you know what I think this is? I think this was put over that. I don't think that is part of the same picture.
I
think this was inlaid in that picture.
Yeah, could
That's
be
possible. That's really well done, though. I'd have to watch the video.
Yeah. But anyway, that's it.
Okay, so that chassis is clearly 132. The one that's just by itself on the track. Cool.
We'll know. I'll find out at the weekend. The video will explain too, but I'll find out.
Yeah, he's taken all those prototypes over there, obviously. Be interesting to see how Indy cars sell if that's made for the North American market. Most likely North American market primarily.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still waiting for the Corvette. So.
You're still waiting for the Corvette, yeah.
Did you get to drive it? I remember you looked at one. Did you get to drive it around, Jim? I'm
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did you get to drive the Corvette around at all?
No, because it didn't have it wasn't wired, and it was a prototype that he said if it hits something, it will break. So please do not wire it up and run it.
Yeah. So we're still waiting on somebody to actually put that on a track.
Yeah.
General question related to Jim's poster or photos there. How long has the IndyCar been running those aero screens as they appear on those models?
I think it's been three or 4 seasons now. Yeah.
Quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually, that was a design that was actually rejected by Formula One for good reason.
21, 22, 2021, 2022.
Here's another screenshot so you get an idea. Yeah, obviously that's 32nd scale.
Yeah.
But there's the Mercedes in the background, the Aston Martin, the Ferraris, so a new livery for that. So that's all the new stuff that's going to be announced at the Slot Car Festival, but some cool stuff.
What's interesting to me right there, and I didn't mention it before, is those 3 little pieces of hardware down each side of the motor pod, and I think that's going to allow setup changes.
This here?
Yes.
That's the body mount.
All of it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shaker plate.
Yep.
But why are there 3? Why would you need
3? I don't know.
Maybe to accommodate different positions with different bodies.
I'll find out.
I would think that plate is unique to each body, but could be wrong.
Yeah. Right.
That's the F1 chassis.
Yeah.
That's the open wheeler chassis. Interesting. I mean, we haven't been let down by MR Slot Car really at all, I don't think. So
I don't know. They're not perfection. There's
but
none of them are, but they're not either.
no, yeah. As far as any, like, there have been big letdowns by, things in the past. So those, yeah, their track record is really good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I don't hear MR slot car and then go, meh, but
yeah,
I
no.
hear MR slot car and then I go, oh, okay.
Can I ask a quick technical question? What was
Yeah,
my
well-
audio like tonight? Is it different to usual? Is it louder, quieter, anything unusual
No,
about my
no,
audio?
you're just as annoying as always. Don't
Oh,
worry.
thank
Yeah,
you. I knew I would be, John.
No, it's
The
pretty
audio is
crisp.
great. The source,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got one of these, look,
Yeah.
and it's
It's
on
a
an
little-
ear.
Put a little Bactine on it. It'll heal up. Don't worry about it.
It's
That's
on an
not
ear.
what you're supposed to put that, Wayne.
Yeah, you've got it backwards.
All
You've got it
right,
backwards.
all right. All the joking,
Sorry.
All the joking aside, the answer to your question is the audio is clear and decipherable. It does have that kind of near field muffle
Ah, yeah.
you
Okay.
don't get from a faraway microphone, but it's not a bad thing at all.
These are on trial. I bought these. They arrived today, and they are expressly for racing slot cars.
Okay, marketed by who?
No, not they are marketed as expressly for racing slot cars. I've purchased them expressly for racing slot cars because, as
okay.
you know, we like to have a radio link.
Yep.
And in the past, we've used wired earbuds. Sorry, wired earbuds. The hands-free kit that you would used to get in a mobile phone kit.
Yeah.
And they work perfectly well, but you have to run the wire to the phone, don't you? And you've got the phone in the pocket, la-di-da-di-da. And recently we've tried some of those Bluetooth alternatives, which do have a microphone on them. Most don't obviously have a microphone, but when you go and try it, they've actually got one. You can't see it, but it's there.
Yeah,
and those are
and
those are absolutely appalling. Every pair of Bluetooth earbuds I've ever tried, I've had an appalling microphone, and it's made the communications incredibly difficult. So I purchased wired, and I purchased one with a mic on a boom in an earbud with a wire that sits over your ear, which is the first time I've ever tried this. It's actually quite comfortable, and USB-C, and that goes in my computer. I didn't know it did, but it works in the USB socket on my PC.
So how's that going to work at the race?
It's going to be plugged into my mobile phone.
Okay. So same as before with a wired earbud, except now you've got a boom microphone.
That's right.
Okay.
And they're very loud, and it just doesn't matter to you guys, but if I turn the volume right up, they are very loud, which means that I won't have any difficulty hearing people speak to me over the ambient noise, even if drivers are shouting at one another at the time.
Yeah.
Which has been known to happen just from time to time.
No, never.
Plus,
lane two.
You crashed
Well,
my car.
Yeah, plus he can use it at the drive-through, so that's the other advantage.
Will you be using your mobile app today?
Can I have 2 Big Macs and large fries?
Is that what I look like? Oh dear.
But that's always been that you look like a telemarketer. I mean, but that's always because that's the.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, Gio, I recommend these, pal. If you want to get some, I'll send you the link for AliExpress.
Yes, please.
They're not expensive. They are wired, and they seem to be working perfectly well. There you go.
My brother-in-law, who gets lots of new gizmo gadgets, got some recently, and I don't recall it having a boom microphone on it, but it was a headset, and it, rather than fitting in your ear, it fits against your
jawbone,
upper mandible, and you. Yeah, has Pete got one?
They're called bone conductors.
And he said he really liked them. He's just using them for music, as far as I know, and I guess answering his phone. But he really liked them. They're small, kind of like what Wayne has, but he recommended them.
I struggle with earbuds in general because I've got one ear that's got a bone that sort of pokes into it, jawbone, no doubt, and it makes it really, really small. And so every earbud I ever try to stuff in there just drops out, even with the smallest silicone on. They fall out because they don't go in well.
Well,
So I've got.
You gotta trim the ear hair, Wayne.
It's not that. I'm not. That's nose. Yeah, I pluck a few, but not the ears. Not yet.
the heat gun and
Try
get
a
the
little hot
wax out.
glue.
Yeah, it might work.
Yeah,
Just try
These are
them
ones
new
that I
ones
had.
that go on the side of your
Yeah, that's what I have
right
here.
there.
You're making me want to
Yeah.
do a 24 just so I can have an excuse to wear.
Wear them. Yeah, you do look them.
Okay, how am I doing, guys? How am I doing?
Well, the guy said he says the advantage is, of course, they don't go in your ear. They're so you
That's
have
correct.
the ambient sound comes straight in, but
Yeah.
They hit the bone
Behind your
on the
head,
side
go
of.
on. Does that go behind your
Yeah,
head?
these are the ones that I have. Yeah. They had them on sale at Costco for
that's what
$25
that's what they
off.
look like. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
those are
they're great.
those are Bluetooth though.
They are. Yeah, they are
Yeah.
Bluetooth. And talking, people I know the hearing is very, very good, but my microphone, I don't know how well it's received on the other end. I have to inquire with people, but I highly recommend these things. They're just great.
What's that brand?
This is Sun. Oh no, it's shoot, SHOKZ. Shocks. SHOKZ. Shocks.
Cool.
Yep. So you can't even see it. Fit around your ear. You can't even feel them.
I got a set of those bone sound.
Yeah.
Yep. They're bone vibrating.
Yeah. I did look at them, but I wanted something wired because every wired mic seemed to work better than a Bluetooth mic.
Yep. I agree with that.
Bluetooth definitely comes and goes sometimes.
My headset is my output and my input. So this is a Bluetooth noise canceling over the ear headset. Bluetooth, like I said that already. Bose is the brand. This is what I take on trips. So how is my microphone audio?
Very different.
Very different. I mean, it's not as deep as the other
John
one.
is nodding his head, but his microphone is muted, so I can't hear him
Yeah,
respond.
no, actually, you know, it sounds.
All right, so I messed something up. I can't hear anything. There we go. Okay, now I'm hearing things. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
much tinnier.
Sounds
There we
like in a sort of a bottle. You know, it has that sound.
There's certainly more. There's more treble to it. There's more medium and high end rather than medium and low end.
Ooh, can I interrupt? Oh my goodness! Wow, maybe I'll have to do this from now on.
No, don't.
Yeah, so these are real nice because they pretty much kill anything on the outside. They're wonderful for playing.
That's problematic for me because I have mine for my bike.
But there's a little button you can push. There's a little button you can push called Aware. So when I push that button, now I can hear everything on the outside. It'll still cancel out the humming, the droning noises. But anything that's like I could hear my dog bark right now much better than if I had that off. So actually sounds kind of normal right now.
How much did you pay for those?
These are Bose, so they're friggin' expensive.
$300.
They were like 200 some bucks. They were not cheap.
And you know what? Considering the audio we're getting from them, I'm surprised it's as poor as it is. Considering the brand, I would have expected it a little better, quite honestly.
But what goes in my ears is phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what they're known for.
Well, that's always the problem at any audio production is that you're always going for that. You're always working towards that little speaker that makes everything sound like crap. So
yeah, I didn't buy these to use as hands-free devices of any kind. I bought these for plane trips and whatever so that I could actually enjoy the audio that I'm trying to listen to without the airplane noises the whole damn time. For that, they're phenomenal. For this, They allow me to interrupt, so it's a trade-off.
We need to hack those headphones.
Come on, I've given us both both of the topics so far in the free ranging section. So let's go. Let's have something.
Dig around here. What do we got?
I kind of had some questions I posed to Ian and Todd, and that was get a inventory of the tools that they tend to use and have on their bench. So that was kind of a wide open subject, and came back with some very modest answers. I think he's got some secrets out there that he's not really disclosing. But
what was the actual fundamental question then?
Well, I want to know, like, almost like the tech box that Henry has and things like that. See if those are some of the type of tools that they use, tachometers and measuring the motors and things of that nature to kind of get to the high competitive level that they do. And but they pretty much came back with a blank. But I know there's some things out there that they're using.
Do you? Yeah.
Do you?
Do you?
Know that? I think he's lost us, Greg.
Because if I'm going to take a guess based on the Spinning Pinion episodes so far, and based on Ian Douglas's videos prior to the Spinning Pinion episodes, I think he's pretty much a track guy. I think he does all the things he knows that need to be done, as far as flattening chassis and making sure everything's straight and smooth and moves the way he wants it to and blah blah blah. But I don't think he would bother putting a car on a device like that. I mean, maybe.
He says he doesn't.
He says he doesn't. I believe him. I think from everything so far.
Are you talking about the speed indicator thingies?
Yes.
The dynos?
Yeah, dynometers or whatever you want to call them, or even the laser speed checker thing on a motor. Maybe he does that just to make sure he's not using a dud, but everything else, I'm sure he just puts it on the track.
You've got to look at the kind of racing that they do, because the Slotted Nationals is a handout motor with a ceiling of 2 or 3 units, and you just get what you just get what you get, don't you? And that's what we do too, handout racing with the Discers.
He probably does. He probably has a break-in method that he likes, low voltage, high voltage, whatever, and then he puts it on the track.
In my opinion, Ian's secret is he does everything right. There's no super secret stuff. There's no behind the scenes stuff. I'm not saying illegal. I'm just saying stuff that there's nothing, in my opinion, that anybody else can't do. He just does it all right. And he's a pretty damn good driver. Don't forget that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just putting it all together and building a car perfect. And when you do 100 things perfect, then you get a 10th or a 10th and a half in a car. And that's the difference.
Plus the finger.
Duan, do you throw your tires?
Oh yeah.
So maybe that's where I think you should spend maybe a bit more time, because if you do it right, that's 80% of the performance of your car.
Yeah, and we're on handouts, so we get our tires with very little, and we can't glue them on. And that's one of the beauties of the game. We get handed a motor, and we get handed our tires, and we can't glue them on. So you turn up with what you've got, and you do what you do, and away you go. But
it's a different kind of racing, right? I mean,
yeah.
It doesn't mean you don't do anything. It just means what you do is different. So with your handout tires, you're still going to turn them inside out or whatever, and make sure there's no flashing or little bits of rubber. You're going to make sure they sit right. You're going to do what you can to make sure they're sitting right. And
we true them as well.
You got a little too.
So even
You just can't glue them on. So So you true them.
And
Right,
send
you
them.
still do all the other stuff, and before you even get the tires and motor, you've done a lot to the chassis and the pod and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a different.
I think 90% of a good performing slot car is actually done at home. It's done before you turn up. You got what you got
I
once you
mean,
get
when you
there.
go to the track, it's already too late.
Yeah, you can tweak an odd screw, you can solve a problem, but you shouldn't even have a problem if you've done your homework.
I've never participated in one of these things, but I would think if you'd gone to all those lengths and paid your entry fee or traveled 1,000 miles or whatever, or 200 miles or whatever, and they handed you a dud motor.
We had that as well.
Test it. You test it and find out if it's a dud, and if it's a dud, they'll give you another one.
Yes,
we had that. We had that one, but that's also like very time consuming, right? Because if you spend time with like running in the motor, then you might not have the time back.
Right.
So I want to share something that I've discovered recently. You guys, I think maybe Wayne, you know what this is?
Yeah, it's table tennis back cleaner.
Yeah. This, I mean, at least on my
it says
wooden
it
track.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so
these,
what do you use
so
it
this
for?
stuff.
Let them talk.
So okay, so this is a table tennis cleaner. So you spray this on. You spray. You spray on the rackets, you know, to kind of clean up the rubber on the rackets for ping pong. But actually, it works really good on tires, and especially on wooden track. So it removes all the crap that you might collect with the oil and shit that is on the track, cleans properly. And I tried. So this is someone else that has Colin, actually, the guy that is coming racing to our place to find out. So what we do is we spray on a pad, then you put power, this wheel spin, basically go over it until everything is clean, and put the car back. And basically the grips last for, you know, for the full 2 minutes, whatever it is. It's really good. So I tested with we had like a testing session a while ago, and it kind of makes a difference. So maybe, you know, find out if this could be something that you could use in a truck. It's not any oil. It's basically smells like cleaner, like almost like lemony type of kind of cleaner that you kind of use for cleaning windows, like stuff like that. So
you will find no ingredients list or a breakdown of what it contains on those products. They keep that kind of stuff quite secret.
So have you tried the jigsaw puzzle glue on to glue your tires?
No, it's not glue. It's a cleaner.
No, right? There was a little ad underneath the main ad for a different product.
Oh, okay.
Jigsaw puzzle glue.
You know what? The jigsaws I do, I can pick the damn things up when they're finished. Honestly, pick them up. Every jigsaw I've built, and I've not done many, but I can pick them up.
Yeah, that's cool.
You got a bottle. You got a bottle though, didn't you, Gio?
Yeah.
Even the bottle doesn't say what the ingredients are. I mean, at the very least.
To be honest, I will not look it up, and most likely it's gonna be full Chinese stuff. So the one that I want to try was this one actually, because it is like the sponge applicator. So the one that I show you is basically spray.
Yeah.
So kind of a pump spray, not with gas. So that's why you need a kind of pads where you can put you spray on the pads, and then you put the car on the. This one actually would be more like the scale auto applicator, right? Because with the digital, I don't have a pad. I mean, I cannot let the wheel spin. But basically, I don't know why this was cancelled when I bought it, but then AliExpress or the vendor could not ship over, so it got cancelled.
I've had that happen. I ordered some tungsten putty and they refunded it to me about 3 days later because the shipper didn't ship it in time.
Yeah. So
that
anyway.
I am experienced with that foam pad applicator that you just showed us. They are very common in use for RC car wheels and tires, and they come not only with cleaners but with tire additives in them. You tend to find that the applicator foam gets loaded with dirt, and you can never get it clean again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would avoid that one.
Well,
okay.
I would avoid that for that reason.
My main question is, Gio, do you ever use lint rollers to clean stuff off tires?
What? Sorry?
Lint rollers.
Do you ever use lint rollers or tape to clean tires?
I was doing that for a while, but to be honest, it doesn't not. I mean, you could spend the whole evening trying to remove crap from it. What I do now, at least digital, what I do now is I use light spirit with cloth, and then basically I remove all the crap from the stuff, and then I put a bit of oil and put back. But of course, it leaves a lot of residue on the track. So yeah.
That 729 brand one that you got, did you see the little blue foam pad? I presume you got that with it, yeah?
To be honest, I don't remember.
The blue foam pad.
I've ever seen, yeah.
I have that blue foam pad, but I don't have the table tennis bat cleaner. But that blue foam pad was supplied to me to use with plain water, which is how I clean my bat, just plain water. And it makes a huge difference for a short while. Well, short while. How long is a short while with a table tennis bat?
Anybody tried a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser yet? I mean, if you're talking about using just the foam pad with water, then maybe a Mr. Clean will do a pretty good job. I don't know.
Yeah. No, actually, we use like Windex or something like that in the wooden track for cleaning the tires.
Yeah.
But again, on a pad with the power, so you put up so the tires spin and you clean But this stuff basically makes a huge difference. And now I have to go because I have to interview someone.
Okay. Good luck.
See you guys. Catch up later.
Hopefully they are hireable.
I think so. I mean, I had a couple of people from Oxford, Cambridge, so they are all hireable. So that's good, high-profile people. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to really test them, show them what a controller and ask them what it is.
I would try.
I'm sure he'd hire me.
All right. I think that's a good note. I'm going to end the stream. Everybody, bye till next week. Bye.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Okay.